I have a rule about being a great religious leader, and I would remind John of rule number 5. He talks about God will cure evil or end it. Rule number 5 is never, never, ever give the exact date that's going to happen. Jesus did so in the parable, said, "You will see God's kingdom in your lifetime," and it did not take place. There have been a multitude of people that said, the universe will end on September 14th at 8 p.m., 8:07 p.m. And when the time comes and goes, so do your followers when nothing happens. I'd like to talk, we beat evil to death. By the way, if you missed anything John and I said about evil, objective morality, or the call of argument, the debates have been going on for centuries. You can find all you want to know, exact words that we used on the internet. There's a syndrome called the concentration camp guard evil, and it goes this way. A person works in a concentration camp, goes into the concentration camp, and does horrible, evil things by anyone's definition. Comes out, washes the blood off, and is loving to his daughter and his wife, is a stalwart member of the community. And so in this case, evil is from your perspective. If the lion eats the antelope says that's an evil act. The lion says, "Hey, I'm just having dinner." The difference between his definition of evil and my definition is that to him, evil is a noun. Evil is something that exists. To me, it's an act. It's an evil act by a person. There's a huge difference between those two philosophies. Once again, my thanks to the Metro State Atheists, the Aurora Master Plan Ministry, and to Dr. Metcalf for doing a great job of making this debate possible. Thanks again to Pastor Byrne for his courteous debate and the honor that they've both done. I think they should. Too much of my time. I've only got 2 minutes. My preparation for this debate has been interesting and instructive. It's like cramming decades of PhD level philosophy training into 4 weeks. Fortunately, the internet makes the knowledge I've acquired available to everyone. Research for key quotes and elusive facts that before might have taken days or weeks now only take seconds. Why would I say that? Remember number 3 of my arguments, the accumulation and distribution of information. We atheists are only babies in these arguments about the existence of God. Yes, I know there have been intellectual giants on both sides, some of them sitting in this room, but religions that believe in the Abrahamic God have had thousands of years to fine-tune their arguments. The first example that I could find of a public atheist was a French-German author named Heinrich Dietrich, 1723 to 1789. Yes, I know there were humanists before him. I said public atheists. Christians have had 2,000 years. Jews have had 2,500 years. Muslims, 1,300 years. Atheists have had 300 years to hone these arguments. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till we get started. It's been exciting to see the birth of the new atheist movement and the great strides that have been made in the last few decades of removing the stigma associated with the word atheist and decreasing the chances of believing in God. Don't think we're making progress? Look at the statistics. The number of atheists in this country have gone from 1 or 1.5% some 20 years ago. Now it's up to about 18%, depending on who's doing the survey. The stage was set for Dawkins, Harris, Hitchens, Dennett, Tooley, and Stenger by Robert G. Ingersoll. Although the new atheist arguments are from skilled philosophers, what makes it dramatic for me is that the major target and beneficiaries have been you, the laypersons. If past decades are an indication, this is where I take a drink of water. This is the point in the argument where I, without denigrating my opponent, I denigrate his arguments about objective morality and the Column cosmological argument with comments such as, my opponent failed to address the issue, or John's ideas may be dismissed from serious considerations for the lack of any evidence. I've seen these ready-made terms used in past debates. Go look them up there. I'm not going to use them tonight. 2 Petro, John did a good job. And I hopefully did not embarrass my supporters or myself. However, we both had an impossible task. The task of showing that an invisible myth, which does not register on any of our 5 senses, did or did not exist. I would suggest that that task is presently beyond the skill of any debater. I'm a materialist. I trust in those things I can measure. If something exists and I cannot measure it, it simply means I need better instruments. When it comes to imaginary entities, I will admit being unable to measure them. One does not prove that Santa Claus does not exist. One simply stops believing when the pile of evidence against his belief is so high or so personal that it's impossible to maintain belief. The deist believes that God came, created the earth and the universe, and then left. The theist believes that God created the earth or the universe, then come around, hands on the controls in our everyday life. The arguments used to debate the existence of God are usually ancient debates argued over certain centuries, but these arguments, stop and think of it, they could be appropriate for the deist or the theist. Did God exist? Did He create the universe? If He did, if He was a deist, He's out of here. He's up on Pluto working on things there. So all of those arguments, I said it could be anybody, it could be the Easter Bunny, could be a huge battle between God and the devil won, you're afraid of the devil. My point is that He doesn't exist. In my presentation, I used one ancient argument, the dichotomy of evil, because it's so personal. I believe it's difficult to relate to something that happened billions of years ago. Evil acts happen every day. My other 3 arguments were what I would call modern and related to the here and now of the debate. I've tried to focus my efforts on the here and now because I believe that is where the new atheists are going to win these debates. Remember at the beginning, I spoke of the existence of God in the human mind. My readings suggest that God has been in the minds of ancients since prehistoric times and before, put there as a logical response to things that were frightening and unexplainable. Those times have passed. Now a particular God exists because of where you were born and with whom you communicated. Saudi Arabia, you're going to be a Wahhabi Muslim. I once had a religious person tell me that they accepted Jesus at the age of 4. A 4-year-old may be good at many things, able to make a good mud pie, developing speech skills, building a database about what they know, but being able to make a difficult theological decision is not one of them. God exists here and now in the minds of people because the concepts were put there along with their belief in superstition and myth. These tools were views from authority figures and a theistic message repeated over and over and over again in different forms. My goal as an atheist is to understand that process and how to reverse it. I try to gather information about 2, for want of a better word, cults. I apologize if this offends some of the theists. See, I've offended the atheists, now I'm going to offend the theists. The first cult is Heaven's Gate. You remember? 1997, 42 people committed suicide because they believed they were going to be transported to a spaceship in the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet. The second cult was Solar Temple. From 1994 to 1997, 74 people around the world committed suicide by burning themselves alive, believing that they would use the power of the sun to transport them to a wonderful planet, Sirius. Theists are sometimes upset when I compare their belief in God to these cults, since I seem to be comparing them with a bunch of lunatics. That's not true. I did so because the thought process, the way it got into your brain, and the methods to use, put that sign down. The methods used to make this intelligent and educated belief in spaceships and the tail of comets is the identical process used to make people believe in virgin birth, 72 virgin brides, heavens, and the fact that Marvin knows what he's talking about. I want